In a world obsessed with shortcuts, hacks, and overnight success, we have forgotten something ancient, something powerful. The Japanese understood centuries ago what most people today still struggle to learn. True mastery follows a sacred order. That order is called Shuhari, and it is the reason some people learn faster, grow stronger, and rise higher than everyone else. Shuhari is not motivation. It is not talent. It is a system for becoming unstoppable. Shu, learn to obey before you try to be original. Means to protect, to obey, to follow. This is where beginners fail. Everyone wants to be different. Everyone wants to add their own style. Everyone wants to skip the basics. But the ancient Japanese masters understood something brutal and true. You cannot break rules you have not yet mastered. In the Shu stage, you do not question the process. You copy, you repeat, you submit to discipline. Whether it's martial arts, business, content creation, or learning a skill, progress accelerates when you remove ego. You follow proven methods exactly as they are. You practice fundamentals relentlessly. You show up daily, even when it's boring. Shu is uncomfortable because it demands humility. It demands patience. It demands silence. But Shu builds something most people never develop: unshakable foundations. And without foundations, speed is an illusion. Ha! Break the rules intelligently. Ha means to detach, to dig deeper, to expand. This is where learning becomes faster, because now you understand why the rules exist. In Ha, you are no longer copying blindly. You begin experimenting. You compare methods. You analyze what works and what doesn't. You adapt techniques to your personality and strengths. But here's the key: you only reach Ha because you honored Shu. People who skip Shu and jump straight to creativity end up confused, inconsistent, and average. But those who pass through Shu enter Hei with clarity and confidence. This is where learning speed multiplies. You start seeing patterns. You connect ideas effortlessly. Mistakes become teachers, not failures. In Ha, you are no longer just learning. You are thinking like a master. Ri, transcend technique and become the art. Ri means to leave, to transcend, to become. This is mastery. At this stage, rules disappear, not because you rejected them, but because they are now part of you. You no longer think about technique. You embody it. Learning becomes instinctive. Action becomes effortless. Results become inevitable. Masters in Rai move faster because they are no longer burdened by doubt or overthinking. They see the essence instantly. They adapt naturally. They innovate without struggle. Ri is not flashy. It is quiet power. And very few people reach it, because very few are willing to endure Shu long enough. Why Shuhari makes you learn 10 times faster. Modern culture teaches speed without structure. Shuhari teaches structure that creates speed. Most people are stuck relearning the same lessons because they never built foundations. They jump between methods, chase trends, and blame motivation. But Shuhari eliminates waste. It focuses your energy. It sharpens your mind. It compounds progress daily. When you stop trying to be special and start trying to be excellent, learning accelerates naturally. The brutal truth: you don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You need discipline, patience, and respect for the process. Shuhari is ancient wisdom, but it works because human nature hasn't changed. If you follow before you innovate, if you master before you modify, if you submit before you transcend, you won't just learn faster. You'll become unstoppable. Shu, master the basics before chasing speed. In the ancient Japanese system of mastery, the first stage is called Shu, which means to obey, to protect, to follow. This stage is where most people fail, because Shu requires humility. It demands that you put your ego aside and submit to the process. In a world addicted to shortcuts, Shu teaches patience. When you begin learning something new, your job is not to innovate. Your job is to imitate perfectly. You follow the rules exactly as they are taught. You repeat the fundamentals until they become automatic. You don't argue with the system, you trust it. This is how true learning accelerates. Most people want results without foundations. They jump between methods, watching endless videos, collecting information but never building skill. Shu eliminates confusion. It gives you one path, one discipline, one direction. The irony is this: the fastest learners are those who slow down at the beginning. By mastering the basics deeply, you avoid years of mistakes later. Shu builds muscle memory, mental clarity, and discipline. It trains your mind to respect structure. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or inconsistent, it's not because you lack talent, it's because you skipped Shu. Go back, study the fundamentals, practice them daily. Excellence begins with obedience. Shu destroys ego and creates real progress. Shu is not just about technique, it is about character. It forces you to confront your ego. Because ego is the greatest enemy of learning. Ego says, "I already know this." Ego says, "There must be an easier way." Ego says, "I'll do it my own way." But the masters understood something brutal: ego slows learning. Shu strips ego away by demanding repetition. You perform the same actions again and again until pride has no place to hide. This is why beginners often quit early. They confuse boredom with lack of progress. But boredom is not the enemy impatience is. Shu teaches you to endure monotony, to stay committed when excitement fades. And something powerful happens when ego dies, learning speeds up. You listen better. You observe more carefully. You accept correction without resistance. Every repetition sharpens you instead of frustrating you. Shu also creates discipline, and discipline creates momentum. When you train consistently, even small improvements compound. Day by day, skill grows silently. Those who rush look busy but stay weak. Those who obey grow strong quietly. Shu is the hidden accelerator. It feels slow, but it builds unstoppable force beneath the surface. Ha! Break the rules only after you understand them. The second stage of Shuhari is Ha, which means to break apart or detach. This is where learning begins to feel fast, because now you understand the structure beneath the rules. In Ha, you are no longer a blind follower. You start asking intelligent questions. You test variations. You compare techniques. You begin to see why certain methods work better than others. But here is the truth most people miss. Ha only works if Shu was done properly. Without foundations, experimentation becomes chaos. With foundations, experimentation becomes mastery. In He, mistakes are no longer discouraging. They become data. You learn faster because you recognize patterns instantly. You can adjust quickly because you know the core principles. This is where creativity is born. Not from rebellion, but from understanding. You are not rejecting tradition, you are evolving it. Learning in Ha feels lighter, faster, more enjoyable. You stop memorizing and start internalizing. Your confidence grows because it is earned, not imagined. If Shu builds strength, He builds intelligence. Together, they create momentum that most people never experience. He multiplies learning speed through adaptation. He is where learning truly accelerates because you stop being rigid. You adapt knowledge to your personality, strengths, and goals. You stop copying outcomes and start copying principles. At this stage, you are no longer overwhelmed by new information. You can filter what matters and discard what doesn't. This alone multiplies learning speed. You also develop independence. You no longer need constant instruction. You self-correct. You refine. You grow faster because you trust your judgment built through discipline. In HA, your learning becomes efficient. You avoid unnecessary effort. You focus on what creates results. This is why advanced learners seem to progress effortlessly. They are not working harder, they are working smarter. But Ha still requires humility. You remain a student. You stay curious. You understand that growth never ends. This balance confidence without arrogance. is what keeps learning fast and sustainable. Rai. Transcend technique and become the skill. The final stage of Shuhari is Ri, which means to leave or transcend. This is where mastery lives. In Ri, you no longer think about rules, techniques, or methods. They have become part of you. Action flows naturally. Decisions happen instantly. Learning becomes intuitive. This is why masters appear calm, effortless, unshakable. They are not rushing, they are not forcing, they are simply being. At this stage, learning is no longer stressful. It is joyful. You adapt instantly because you understand essence, not form. But Ri is rare, because few people are willing to endure Shu and Ha long enough to reach it. The secret to learning 10 times faster is not speed. It is respecting the order of mastery. Follow, understand, transcend. That is Shuhari.